This is a summary of the novel The Little Prince by Antoine De Saint-Exupery. This novel was published in 1943, and it begins with a man who is trying to draw. Now, this novel begins with this man being a child, and he's trying to draw. He draws a picture of a snake eating or swallowing an animal, its prey. But when he shows this picture to the adults laugh at him. They say that that drawing is just a hat, and they tell him that he should, not waste his time in drawing animals. He should just go learn a profession that can actually help him in life. So what happens is this main character he becomes a pilot, and in the novel he crashes his plane in the Sahara Desert, and he tries to fix his plane. And as he's trying to fix his plane, this little prince comes up. Now, this little prince is not from the planet Earth. He's from a different planet that has three volcanoes and a flower, a rose. This little prince really treasures this flower. This flower is very important to him. One great thing about this is in the novel, a lot of things are personified. So the rose speaks to the little prince. We have the little prince speaking to snakes, a fox, other animals, flowers. He speaks to everything in the novel. So there's a lot of personification in this novel. So the little prince meets with this man, and one of the reasons why I believe that they start speaking to each other, it's because in the novel, the main character, he is not, he considers himself to be more of a child in of a way than a adult, because he has characteristics of a child. The picture, he uses it to sometimes he shows it to other adults to ask them what do they see. And if they say that the picture is just a hat and not a snake swallowing an animal, he puts it away and reverts to being just an adult. But the little prince in this novel, he understands this man. He understands that the picture is a snake swallowing an animal. So the novel really looks at relationships. It looks at meanings, because a person can have 1,000 flowers, and a person can have one flower. But to the person that has the one flower, that one flower can mean more to that one person than 1,000 flowers. What I mean by this is Antoine de Saint, in writing this novel, he is saying that the reason why things matter, it's because we give them value. It's because we give them importance. There is a lot in this novel about how we perceive different types of things. When I look at the stars, I can just see the sun, like stars. But when you look at the stars, you can have some other types, or a different meaning, that involves the stars. Maybe you and your grandfather used to look at the stars through a telescope. And whenever you look at the stars, you remember your grandfather. This is one thing that the novel is trying to explain, that as humans, we give things meaning. And what the word it uses for this is the word tamed. There's a whole scene in this novel where the little prince is talking to this fox, and the fox says that to really know something, to really be friends with something, you have to tame it. And the definition that we get from the novel of this word is that taming something is to become one with it, to attach yourself to it, to understand something not through perception or through vision, but through the contents of the heart. So if you really know someone, it's not through physical aspects, but through emotional aspects. Because in this scene of the fox and the little prince, you get the sense that they had a bond, and this bond was understood um, through emotional standards, not by physical or things like that. So in the novel, we see the little prince and this man. They're having conversations. The little prince is trying to explain, or he asks a lot of questions about different types of things. And in the novel, he does explain where he comes from and why he's an alien. He says that he's from a planet with three volcanoes, and that on this planet he can see 44 sunsets when he turns his chair. This planet is very small, and the little prince is very small. That's why he's called the little prince. Um, there are other reasons why he's called the Little Prince, but that's one reason why he's called the Little Prince. So the Little Prince explains that his planet is very small, and that there's this flower that he treasures and that he takes cares of. And when we talk about personification, this novel is personified. Everything is personified. I never knew you could make a flower so human like, because the flower is given emotions, it's given characteristics of a human being. And the little prince is very attached to this flower that he leaves behind on his planet. He leaves his planet in the novel to journey, to find questions that he's been wondering about. In the novel, we see that, or the Little Prince explains that he went to a lot of planets. One of the planets he went to, he found a businessman, and the businessman described his life as a businessman would. He says that the stars belong to him, and that he owns all of the stars, and that he is rich because he is the first to own all of the stars. The little prince says, "Why is it important to be rich?" So the businessman says, "Well, I can buy more stuff." And then the little prince says, "Why do you need to buy more stuff?" Um, the businessman says, "So I can have more stuff." One thing that this reveals is that um, to me, that scene reveals that how empty people can be. Because this businessman, the only thing that mattered to him was his money. He was completely alone on this planet. He owned this planet. He was alone in it. All he did was calculations of his wealth. So he sat there because he says he owns the stars. He sat there day and night just counting the stars and counting his profits. So I think that says a lot about human traits, that we only measure our worth or our purpose, or even our value, our personal value to the world, by how much stuff we accumulate over our lifetimes. If your life is determined, or your life is valued by what you have in your bank account, or how much possessions you own, it can be very shallow, because the end game is that you're going to leave all that stuff behind one day. It's either that stuff gets destroyed or you die. So if your life is valued by the number of stuff you have, that's a very empty life to live. And we see that in a lot of characters in the novel. There's another character. The little prince goes to another planet. He meets a king, and the king, he's on a planet by himself, a very small planet again, and the king rules over nothing, but he says he rules over everything. And that's it's very strange to me, because, well, not strange. Let me rephrase that. It's not strange. It's just the king is so full of himself that he thinks he's the master, or the god over everything. And the little prince questions that. The little prince says, Okay, if everything listens to you, make the sun set right now. And the king says, "Well, no, no, no. You have to do everything in reason. In reason. I'm going to make the sun set, but I'm going to wait for the right time for it to set. You know, when I want it to set, it'll set around that time." So there's a lot. The Little Prince goes to a lot of planets in this novel. He ventures around. He tries to figure out the meaning of life. We can even say, because the way I saw the novel is that every planet he went to, he learned something new about life. He goes to this other planet, again small. All of these planets, they're small. Some are smaller than the other. Some are bigger than others. But the sense of it is that all of these people that the little prince meet, they're isolated. They're by themselves, and they have their own views of reality, of how reality should be. Um, One person that the little prince meet, his name is the Tippler. He's on this planet by himself, and all he does is drink and drink and drink and drink, because he wants to forget stuff. So, really, one thing that I get from this novel is that every human has their own perspective on how life should be like. There are some that are businessmen. Everything is a profit. There are some that are drink are alcohol is the only answer. There are some that believe that they are the complete and total boss of everything. So really, this novel looks at grown-ups, as it says. It looks at how grown-ups can sometimes have a one-mind track towards everything, and how they can really, when they set their minds to one thing, they keep it there and they don't change it. And the last place that the little prince goes is Earth. And even on Earth, he finds isolation because this man, the main character that we're talking about, he is the only person that, human, the only human that the little prince comes into contact with within the novel. And they do have a great conversation. They become friends. I think they tame each other, as the novel explains. They have a connection with each other because there's just one scene where the main character is dying of thirst. He's in the desert, and they go out together. They found a well, and they drink from it. And the little prince treasures this moment, and in the same way, the main character, the man in the novel, he treasures this moment. So um, they when they both go back home, and the man fixes his plane and he goes back to civilization, and the little prince in the end goes back to his own planet. They remember each other by the stars, because they tamed each other by the book's definition of tame. um, they gave each other a value. Again, the only reason why things are important in life, the only reason why um, some things are more important than others, it's because we choose to give them purpose. We choose to give them meaning. I mean, um, if I have a trinket, it's absolutely worthless. It's not worth any money. I can take it to the bank and I wouldn't receive anything for it. To society, that trinket, God, I can't speak. That trinket is worthless. But to me, maybe it's priceless. Maybe it's worth $1 trillion. So that's one of the things that you can get from this novel by reading it. It's that when we give things meaning, they can be very important, and that's why the flower in the novel is very significant. The little prince's flower, because in the novel he treasures the flower, he tames it, or it tames him, and he can't. That's why he goes back to his planet, because he can't bear the thought of his flower being left to fend for itself, for its life, because I mean that's his flower. So that's the novel. It's a very interesting novel. It's really short. It's not that long at all. I read this in like 30, 40 minutes. It was a very fast read for me. But honestly, overall, this novel talks about meaning. It talks about adults and how adults can, um, have a one-track mind. Because all of the people that the little prince met on his journey, they're all adults and they're all stuck in their own personal views of reality. So that's the novel. Please like and subscribe. Tell me if this video helps you in any way, and come back to the channel for more. And I'll see you for more next time.